You know that moment when you realize someone never actually liked your kids, yeah? That hit me like a brick way too late. A year and a half ago, I wasn't looking for love, honestly. I was just trying to survive. It was me and my two boys, 11 and 13 now. Their dad passed 5 years ago. Sudden heart attack. One minute we were arguing about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. It does. Fight me. The next he was gone. Just gone. I didn't even get to say goodbye. That was the beginning of my solo parenting era grief. Late nights sobbing in the pantry and teaching myself how to change the damn water heater. We had a rhythm, though it wasn't perfect. Some weeks were all frozen waffles and science projects forgotten until 9 p.m. But it was ours. Then came Brent. Met him at a school fundraiser. PTA thing. He was helping run a trivia booth, had that smooth, polished charm that just clicks. You know the type button-down shirt with sleeves rolled up, just enough to show he lifts. Real estate smile. Smelled like confidence and cologne that probably costs more than my rent. He offered to walk me to my car. We joked about the bad DJ. I laughed for the first time in months. We started texting, then coffee, then pizza nights. At first, it was sweet. Brent would bring over Thai food, stay to watch a Marvel movie with the boys, help my oldest with pre-algebra like he was auditioning for Stepdad of the Year. I thought, wow, maybe this is it. Maybe I get another chance. But if I'm being honest, my boys were never really into him. They were polite, said thank you, but they always stayed a little quiet when he was around, like they were watching a substitute teacher who might give a pop quiz at any second. And maybe I should have paid more attention to that. A few months in, Brent started making suggestions. Little things, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we turned the guest room into a meditation space? Or, your youngest might really benefit from some time away. Like a structured environment. Boarding schools can do wonders. WTF? I laughed it off the first time. He said it like it was just an idea, like we were spitballing interior design or dog breeds, not where my children would live. But he didn't drop it. Brought it up again a week later. Casually, I told him no. Hell no. He backed off, kind of, but then came Vanessa. His sister, this walking human glitter bomb of chaos and fake eyelashes, no job, no ambition, but somehow always had designer bags and those overpriced matcha lattes with gold flakes or whatever the hell rich girl TikTok is drinking these days. First time I met her, she looked at my living room like it was a garage sale, made this weird face and said, "Oh, it's cozy. Excuse me." Brent started talking about how she was going through a hard time. Apparently, she'd just broken up with a guy who paid her rent, and now she had nowhere to go. Not my problem. Except Brent made it mine. Started asking things like, "Do you think your mom would take the boys for a semester or two? Vanessa could really use the stability?" I said, "You want me to evict my kids from their home for your freeloading sister?" He said, "I just think it's something to consider if we're building a future." That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to my kids breathe in the next room, and felt this rage brewing in my chest. This wasn't about space. This was about Brent wanting a clean slate, a family without the inconvenient parts, the messy parts, the kids. I started paying closer attention after that, and what I saw made my skin crawl. Brent would accidentally leave tabs open on my laptop boarding schools with photos of smiling rich kids in horse riding gear. He suggested I sell the boys' beanbag chairs to declutter. At dinner, he'd interrupt my kids mid-sentence and change the subject. Then the kicker. Last week, my youngest asked me what a behavioral academy was. Said Brent told him he might like the independence. I was pissed. That night, I asked Brent calmly at first why he was talking to my kids about being sent away. His response a shrug. "You've done such a great job with them, babe. I just think they've outgrown this space. They need structure." Screw that! They need their mom and a place to be kids, not some polished version of a Pinterest family. He didn't see them as real people, just obstacles. I wish I could say I ended it right there. But I didn't. I told myself I was being sensitive, overprotective. I gave him another chance. And that's on me, but trust me, that was the last time I ever doubted my instincts. Because what happened next, that's when asterisk got real. 2 days after that little structure talk, Brent showed up at my house with a damn tape measure. No heads up, no text, just walked in holding it like he was about to HGTV the place. I was making grilled cheese in the kitchen, and my oldest was doing homework at the dining table. Brent kisses me on the cheek like nothing's off and says, "Thought I'd get some measurements for the new layout." I froze. "What layout?" I asked, spatula still in hand. He smiled, way too casually and just thinking ahead. The boys' room could maybe use a reconfiguration, and we could open up the office a bit, give the house a more grown-up flow. My son looked up from his math like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" I stared at Brent and said flat out, "That's my kid's room. It's not up for negotiation." He laughed it off like I was overreacting. "Babe, I'm just brainstorming. God, you get so defensive." "Yeah, no asterisk to I'm defensive. You don't come into my house with a measuring tape and start plotting how to erase the people who built this place with me." What pissed me off more wasn't just what he said, but how normal he acted about it. Like I was supposed to be grateful he was helping upgrade our lives. I didn't say much that night. I needed space to think, to process. But inside I was boiling. I don't play about my kids. You don't come into our space and try to push them out, even with a smile on your face and fancy Pinterest boards. That's not love. That's invasion. That was the moment I knew I couldn't let this continue much longer. But then Vanessa... Oh my God, Vanessa. That woman took things from annoying to straight up deranged. First, it started with her crashing Sunday dinners. Then suddenly, she had a key to my house. Brent swore he gave it to her just in case, since she was helping us with some design ideas. Design ideas. Bitch rearranged my spice rack. Who even touches someone else's cinnamon? And then she dropped the bomb. We were at brunch, Brent and Vanessa, me and the boys, because I made the mistake of agreeing to a family meal. I was trying to keep things civil. Give him the benefit of the doubt, still stuck in that space where you second-guess yourself, because what if I'm being too harsh? Anyway, Vanessa leans over halfway through her mimosa and goes, "I'm pregnant." The table went silent. Brent spit his orange juice, and I swear my brain short-circuited. Pregnant? Let me just say she's not in a relationship. Hasn't been in one. Unless you count the dude who sent her a "you up" text last Halloween and never called back. So yeah, that was suspicious. I kept quiet, just watched her. She didn't touch her belly, didn't say anything about the due date, didn't even stop drinking her mimosa until Brent gave her a look. Then it started. Brent began really pushing the boys going to boarding school narrative. Just a semester. Think of it like a leadership program. They'll make friends, be more independent. "Lena, this could be good for them. For us." "No." "Brent, it's good for you. So you can play family with your sister and pretend your life is Pinterest perfect while my kids are out of sight." But again, I didn't explode. I didn't flip the table. Instead, I got quiet and started digging, and that's when asterisk it unraveled. I checked my bank statements. There were charges I didn't recognize: boutique baby stores, organic prenatal vitamins, weird-ass belly oil from some influencer. Thing is, none of it was mine. And you guessed it, Vanessa had been using my card. One Brent borrowed for joint wedding expenses. That's when the switch flipped. No more doubt, no more pretending this was salvageable. "You want to use my home, my money, and my children's rooms to build a fantasy, fine, but you're not going to get away with it." I made a plan. First, I printed every transaction, highlighted every charge that wasn't mine, screenshotted every boarding school link Brent had sent me just for fun, compiled text messages, even the audio file from the brunch where Vanessa slipped and said, If this works, maybe Brent can finally convince her. If this works, like I was some hurdle in a damn plot. Next, I called off the caterer, but not before confirming that yes, the deposit was in my name and my card. Venue, I canceled that too. Got most of the deposit back. The rest I was happy to lose if it meant they'd lose more. And then I waited. Waited for the big family engagement party that Brent's mom was hosting, where we'd officially announce our future. Toast to blended families. Show off the ring, blah blah. I RSVP'd with a smile, but I didn't show up empty-handed. I showed up with a flash drive. I showed up with printed receipts and screenshots in a neat little folder. And I showed up with my kids dressed up, confident, and knowing exactly what was going on. We walked in together, late on purpose. Brent's mom clapped when she saw me. Oh good, we were about to start. Vanessa was in a white dress. Yeah, white. And Brent was already holding a microphone, starting a speech about new beginnings and gratitude and what it means to become one big family. I let him go on for 3 minutes. Then I walked up, tapped the mic, and said, "Mind if I say a few words?" You could hear a pin drop. I turned to the crowd, smiled, and said, "Before we raise our glasses, I'd like everyone to check under your chairs." They did, and there, neatly tucked under each chair, was a folder. Labeled The Truth. Inside everything. The credit card fraud, the baby scam, the screenshots, the boarding school plans, the audio file with Vanessa's voice. Crystal clear. The room went silent, then gasps, whispers. Vanessa turned pale. Brent stepped toward me like he could explain. I held up my hand. Nope, we're done. I canceled the wedding. The only thing we're building is distance. And then I turned to my kids and said, "Let's go home." We walked out. No drama, no screaming, just power. My oldest turned to me as we reached the car and said, "You didn't just roast them, you lit the whole house on fire." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it felt good. Like I could finally breathe again. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just ended it. And that was better than revenge. That was relief. You'd think that after a public humiliation of that level, after I nuked their fantasy Pinterest wedding in front of Brent's entire family, there'd be silence. You'd be wrong. The next morning, my phone was blowing up like it owed someone money. Texts, missed calls, emails, even a LinkedIn message from some cousin of Brent's I didn't even like, saying he just wanted to hear my side. Oh, I bet he did. Brent texted first. "Babe, let's talk. That didn't need to happen like that. I'm hurt. Hurt." I laughed, out loud, alone in my kitchen, coffee in one hand, flipping through a folder of betrayal in the other. Vanessa, though she went full soap opera. She showed up at my house, uninvited, unhinged, in full mascara-streaked chaos mode. I opened the door in my sweatpants and a hoodie. Zero makeup, messy bun, the mom uniform of, I have nothing to prove anymore. She was crying, like ugly crying, blubbering about how I destroyed her future and how she wasn't thinking straight and it was just a joke that went too far. A joke, stealing from me, trying to exile my kids, fake a pregnancy so your brother can pretend to play house with someone else's family. That's a joke now. I didn't say anything at first, just stared at her, letting the silence stretch out long enough to be uncomfortable. Then I said, "You got 5 minutes. After that, I'm calling the cops." She blinked. "Wait, what? No, I'm not dangerous. I just... Girl, you used my credit card, faked a pregnancy, and tried to hijack my life. That is dangerous. 5 minutes. She backpedaled fast, tried to play the sympathy card, claimed she had mental health struggles, that Brent pressured her into all of it, that she just wanted to feel important. Look, I've got empathy. I've been through Shasterisk T2. But what you don't get to do is burn my house down and then ask me to cry with you in the ashes. I told her to leave. She asked if she could at least talk to Brent. I told her he could come get her off the porch if he wanted, otherwise she was trespassing. She stormed off, yelling something about how I ruined everything. No, sweetheart, you did that all by yourself. Brent tried to save face after that. He texted again, called, left this voicemail that started off calm but ended with this weird blend of guilt-tripping and fake vulnerability. Lena, I know you're angry, but what happened at the party was unfair. You didn't give me a chance to explain. I love you. I love your kids. Vanessa's my sister. I was trying to support her. That doesn't mean I was trying to hurt you. Then there was a pause, and he said, if you keep pushing me away, you'll regret this. You're not thinking long term. And that was it. That last line flipped a switch in me I didn't even know was there. Because how dare he weaponize long term, like I haven't been playing the long game since the second I held my newborn son and knew I had to raise 2 whole humans without a partner. How dare he act like he was the one thinking ahead, while I was just some emotional mess wrecking the plan. No, I was thinking long term. I always had been. I was thinking about emotional safety, about stability, about the fact that my boys had already lost their father and didn't need to lose their home too. And honestly, I was thinking about how damn good it felt to finally say no, so I blocked his number. I blocked Vanessa. I even blocked his mom, who sent me a long, passive-aggressive Facebook message about family being complicated and how women are supposed to hold things together. I held things together for 5 fucking years, asterisk, without a partner, a babysitter, or a damn break. Don't talk to me about what women are supposed to do. But it didn't stop there. The next week, Brent tried to do some damage control. He started calling mutual friends, trying to paint the situation as a misunderstanding. Claimed I overreacted, that Vanessa didn't mean to use the card, that I embarrassed everyone at the party. Oh, poor Brent, so fragile, so humiliated by the truth. What he didn't expect, I'd already sent receipts to every one of those friends. Screenshots, statements, dates, audio files. One of my girls said Lena didn't burn the bridge. She paved it in gasoline, handed him a match, and dared him to strike it. And you know what I did? I was done being polite, done being soft, done dimming my fire so someone else could feel like a man. He thought I'd crawl back, that I'd miss the attention, the illusion, the possibility of blending lives. But I was already whole. Me and my kids, we are a full life. No blender necessary. And here's the real kicker about 3 weeks later. Brent lost his job. I didn't even know at first, but word gets around in suburban mom circles, and apparently, he got flagged for using client accounts to fund personal expenses. Guess who taught him how to finesse account access? Yep, Vanessa. That little scheme of theirs extended beyond just my bank card. She'd been using his logins for his job to fund her spending. And when the audit came, boom! Unemployed, under investigation. Vanessa ghosted. No one knows where she went, deleted her social media, blocked everyone. Brent tried one more time to reach out. He emailed me from some burner account, said he was in a bad place and could really use someone who understands. I read it twice. Then deleted it. Didn't reply. Didn't forward it. Didn't even screenshot it for my group chat, though, trust me. The temptation was real. Because at that point, I didn't need closure. I didn't need revenge. I already had everything I needed. My boys, my home, my peace. And there's something delicious about walking away from a wreck and not even looking back to watch it burn. Because you already know it's gone. I went back to our Saturday pancake routine. I bought my kids new beanbags, extra plush this time. We rearranged the guest room back into their game art room, put up new posters, set up a Lego wall. They asked me once, "Is Brent ever coming back?" I said, "Not a chance." They didn't even flinch, just said, "Cool," and kept building. They were fine. I was fine, More than fine. I was free, and for the first time in years. I wasn't surviving, I was finally living. A few weeks after everything blew up, I thought the storm had passed. You know that feeling after a huge argument when your body's still buzzing, but everything's quiet. That weird silence where you're waiting for the next hit, but all you hear is your own breath. That was me. I'd expected to feel elated, triumphant, like some badass vigilante mom who burned down the bullshit and rose from the ashes holding a spatula in one hand and a middle finger in the other. But what I actually felt, tired. Like bone-deep, soul-weary tired. I wasn't doubting my decision, not even for a second. Brent and Vanessa got exactly what they deserved. But when all the chaos stopped, it was just me and my kids and the house that still smelled like vanilla candles and old secrets. I found myself scrubbing the baseboards one night at 11 p. Not because they needed it, but because I needed something to do, something to clean, something to fix. I kept thinking, how the hell did I almost let that man into our lives permanently? And then it hit me. I wasn't sad about losing him. I was grieving the fantasy, the idea of a partner, a teammate, the hope that maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't have to carry it all alone anymore. That stung, but I didn't let it stop me. Instead, I started over. First thing I did, changed the locks. No more spare keys, no more shared passwords. Reset every account, every PIN, even the damn Netflix login. I wanted everything that connected us gone. Deleted old photos, burned a few cards he'd written. That felt weirdly good, like a purge. Then I got practical, pulled up a spreadsheet, did the math. The wedding expenses I'd eaten, the debt I almost took on, the legal risk from Vanessa's fraud. It could have ruined us. But it didn't, because I caught it in time. Barely, but still. I had to remind myself that barely is still surviving. That still counts. Then came the calls. Because apparently, the trauma circus doesn't stop just because you walk off the ride. One of Brent's uncles, who I barely knew, called me to hear my side. Except he didn't actually want my side. He wanted to tell me I'd humiliated the family and should have handled it privately. Privately? They tried to rehome my kids like puppies. This was the polite version. I said, "You know what's private. The voicemail your nephew left me, telling me to ship my sons off so his sister could move in. That's private. The receipts I didn't show at the party, those were private. You want ugly, I held back." He hung up. Good, but it didn't end there. Brent's mom wrote me again. Handwritten this time, like that made it classy or something. She said I was cruel, bitter, and had shamed a woman who was clearly struggling. Okay, let's pause. I didn't shame Vanessa. Vanessa shamed herself when she forged my card, lied about being pregnant, and tried to replace my kids. And no, I don't care if she's going through something. We're all going through something, but most of us don't weaponize it. The letter pissed me off, but I didn't respond, because honestly, she wasn't worth the stamp. Instead, I got my boys and took a trip. Just the three of us. Nothing fancy, some little cabin up north, middle of nowhere, fireplace that barely worked and no Wi-Fi. The kind of place where the air smells like trees and the quiet is actually quiet. We hiked, we ate junk food, played board games, made pancakes that looked like abstract art disasters. My youngest spilled syrup everywhere and just laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. I cried that night, not because I was sad, but because I finally felt safe again. The kind of safe you don't even realize you were missing until you get it back. No tension, no tiptoeing, no pretending. Just us. It reminded me that I didn't need a new partner to be whole. I just needed peace. When we got back, I started making small changes. I painted the spare room, our room, light blue. Took down the vision board Brent helped me make. Put up the boys' art instead. I told them, This house is yours, always. You'll never have to earn your place here. My oldest just nodded. But my youngest hugged me and whispered, "Thanks for choosing us." And right then, I knew I'd done everything right. All of it, the confrontation, the receipts, the rage, the rebuild, every uncomfortable second. Because this wasn't just about me, it was about protecting them from ever feeling like someone could come in and take their home away again. I thought that would be the end, but then came her... Not Vanessa, not Brent. Brent's ex. Let's call her Mallory. She showed up in my inbox one night. Facebook message. Said she'd heard what happened. Said she left Brent 2 years ago for the same reason I did, only she didn't have kids, so the damage was less visible. She told me he tried to get her to cut off her friends, guilt-tripped her into quitting her job, pushed her to move in with his family for support, but really so he could control every aspect of her life. Sound familiar? I asked if she ever told anyone. She said no. People didn't believe her. Too charming, she wrote, too clean. That hit hard. Because I knew that guy, the one who smiled in public, said all the right things, paid for brunch, held the door, but behind the scenes, he was manipulative, quietly cruel, always looking for an angle. Mallory told me she'd lost a year of her life trying to untangle herself from his mess. I told her I was sorry. She said, "Don't be. You burned it down. You saved more people than you know." And that kind of cracked me open, because I'd been carrying this guilt like maybe I went too far. Like maybe the public exposure was too much, too dramatic, too loud. But Mallory reminded me that sometimes loud is the only language people hear. I didn't just protect my family, I warned others. Set a boundary with fire, and for the first time, I stopped apologizing for it. A few weeks after that, my best friend made me a playlist, called it Post-Scorched Earth Vibes. It had everything from Lizzo to Billie Eilish to Taylor screaming, "You made me do it." We danced to it in the kitchen with the kids. I poured wine, she poured tequila. We laughed so hard, I nearly choked on a tortilla chip. And somewhere between Truth Hurts and a very off-key karaoke attempt, I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building. Slow, intentional, messy as hell, but real. And it was mine. It was a Sunday morning when the doorbell rang. We weren't expecting anyone. I was still in pajamas, hair in a pineapple bun, hoodie half-zipped. The boys were at the table with bowls of cereal the size of their heads, watching something loud and stupid on YouTube. I cracked the door open, expecting maybe a delivery or one of the neighbor kids asking to borrow sugar, but no. It was Brent's dad. Yeah, his dad. I hadn't seen the man since the night of the party. He'd been one of the quiet ones, the type who fades into the background while chaos unfolds. I remember him sitting off to the side, hands folded, watching. Not defending, not stopping anything, just watching. Now he was on my porch, hat in his hands, wearing that stiff, "I don't want to be here" expression people wear at funerals or jury duty. "Morning," he said, voice rough. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" I didn't move. "Why?" "I just need to say something, please." Against my better judgment, I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. He sighed, like the weight of whatever he'd come to say was physically painful. I'm not here to defend him. God knows he's made a mess of things. But I wanted to say I watched that whole thing unfold. And you were right. About all of it. Okay, not what I expected. He kept going. I saw him do this to Mallory. And the girl before her. Same script. Different woman. I never stepped in because, well, I didn't think it was my place. But now, after what he did to you, to your boys, he trailed off. I stared at him. Didn't say a word. Finally, he said, "I'm sorry." And that God help me. That was the thing that almost cracked me. Because it had been months. And this was the first real apology I'd gotten from anyone connected to that nightmare. Not Brent, not Vanessa, not his mom with her embroidered blame letters. Just this quiet old man standing on my porch, admitting he'd stayed silent too long. I nodded. Thanks. I said, but I don't need anything from you. Just raise your grandsons better, or stop covering for them. He flinched. Not dramatically, but enough. Then he nodded back, turned, and left. Didn't ask to come inside. Didn't try to justify anything. Just walked away. It wasn't closure, but it was something. Later that night, after the boys were asleep, I poured myself a glass of wine and scrolled through my phone, not looking for anything in particular, just letting my brain wander, and that's when I saw the email. Subject line request from James' 7th grade language arts. It was my oldest's teacher. He'd been quiet lately, which wasn't unusual. He's the internal type, thinks before he talks, the kind of kid who listens more than he speaks, and when he does say something, you'd better believe it means something. The email said he'd written an essay for class, a personal narrative, about a time someone stood up for me. His teacher thought I might want to see it, so I opened the attachment. And I swear to God, I wasn't ready. It started like this. The scariest day of my life wasn't when Dad died. It was when I thought I might lose my home again. I froze. The next line. My mom got engaged to a guy who acted like he liked us. But he didn't. He wanted us gone. I kept reading. He talked about Brent's subtle digs, the weird comments, the way he'd look at the boys like we were guests instead of family. Then he wrote this. My mom didn't just stand up for us. She stood up to everyone. Even when people said she was crazy or dramatic, she picked us. And I'll never forget that. I ugly cried for 20 solid minutes. Not quiet tears, full-blown sobs into a kitchen towel. Because sometimes you do the hard thing, the brave thing, and no one claps, no one sees. You wonder if it even mattered. But it does. They see it. They remember? A few days later, something wild happened. My youngest came home with a permission slip for an after-school theater program. He'd never been interested before, always the Lego/kickball/art project type. I asked what changed. He shrugged. You said we can make the house whatever we want now. So I want to try new stuff too. That one hit me in the throat. Turns out, when you clear out toxic people, you don't just make room for peace. You make room for growth. For joy. For random-ass 4th grade Shakespeare experiments. I signed the form immediately. One night after dinner, we were sitting around talking about summer plans. I asked them what they wanted to do. Road trip beach camping. My oldest said, honestly, I just want to stay here. This feels like vacation now. It stopped me in my tracks. I'd spent so long trying to get away. I forgot that home was supposed to be the place you run to. That was when I realized revenge didn't heal me. It was choosing them, over and over. That did. Around this time, a friend of mine gently asked if I was ready to start dating again. I said no. And it wasn't about fear, or bitterness, or some vow to stay single forever. It was about peace. I wasn't craving romance. I was craving stillness. No drama, no games, no fixing broken people while pretending I wasn't breaking too. I wanted Saturday mornings that smelled like waffles, quiet nights with sketch pads and movie marathons, inside jokes with the boys that nobody else understood. That was my version of happily ever after, at least for now. Sometimes people message me still. They say, you were so brave. But I wasn't brave. I was cornered. Backed into a wall with the people I love most at risk. Brave is a choice. This was instinct. Mama bear stuff. Survival. But I'll take the compliment, because I know now bravery doesn't always look like a grand gesture or a viral moment. Sometimes it's a quiet no, a locked door, a canceled wedding, A living room full of Legos and peace. There's one last thing I'll tell you before I wrap this part up. About a week ago, I found something. It was in the drawer where we used to keep wedding planning stuff. I thought I'd cleared it all, but this little envelope had gotten wedged behind the organizer. Inside was a photo strip. Me and Brent at some dumb photo booth, one of our first dates. I stared at it for a second. We looked happy, and maybe we were. Or maybe I was just good at faking it. Hell, maybe he believed it too for a while. I almost tossed it, but I didn't. I kept it, not because I miss him, but because it reminds me how far I've come. That woman in the picture? She was hopeful, tired, lonely, still believing someone was coming to rescue her. This woman now, she's the damn rescue. Every day. Every choice. Every time she wakes up and chooses peace, chooses herself, chooses her kids. That's the win.